Hello, namaste, and welcome to Agile Exploration Hub. I am your host Nagesh Deshpande. We are bringing another episode today. First of all, to all my viewers, today is Gudi Padwa, Ugadi. Wish you a very happy New Year to all my viewers. I'll request all of you, if you are enjoying my journey so far, I'll request you to subscribe. So, we are bringing another episode today, and our topic will be agile metrics in products. So, let's welcome Balaji, our speaker. Hi, Balaji. Hi, Balaji.
Hey, hello. Nice to meet you again in through this particular episode. Cheers.
Cheers. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, doing good, and I believe the same is with you too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are doing another episode with Balaji. We had done two episodes. I will add the latest episode, the last episode which we did with Balaji in the information box. You can click on the link and get the more details. Um, so today we are going to discuss, which is getting lot of traction in the industry around product management specifically. So when we had a discussion, me and Balaji said, let's talk about agile product metrics, so which can help our viewers to understand better, and if they are either they are doing agile coaching, scrum master, or product management, it will help them. So Balaji, shall we go ahead and let's discuss out this topic?
Yeah, gladly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Balaji, we know basic metrics like, burn down chart, and lot of people are, velocity and all that. But let's, deep dive into this topic. So, when did you first recognize the significance of product metrics in Agile? So product metrics, are those like something different or similar?
Yeah, sure. So before I actually answer this particular question, right, probably I like to set the context a bit, and then I will try to share my perspective to it. So
Yes.
what? Yeah. So
Mhm.
so what I actually found is that there are actually two ways of looking into it. One is called as an internal lens versus a customer lens. So typically from a product management metrics kind of a perspective, right? Basically the way we look into the budgeting, the time frame, the success criteria, the way we look into the teams, prioritization, visibility, risk, all these parameters undergo a paradigm shift while we are trying to measure something called as a project metrics versus a product metrics. So we
Right.
need, so yeah, so we need to understand this particular concept first. So when we are actually getting into the agile world, right, what we actually try to measure for a particular team in terms of the velocity, in terms of the cycle time, lead time, throughput, and some kind of a quality metrics.
Hmm.
Typically when it comes to product metrics, what is more important is possibly the customer retention rate. Okay, what we call it as a CRR. Okay, the customer retention rate. And whenever we are actually deploying a particular feature or a capability to the production, or adding new features or capabilities to the uh, product, what is the feature usage index, or rather what is the feature adoption rate? And typically what is more important is what is the time to value, means
Hmm.
from the time, okay, how quickly my customer or my know the consumer is actually realizing the particular value after I actually adopt a particular feature onto the product. Okay,
Right. Hmm.
so uh, uh, definitely when we are actually jumping onto the world of product management and also trying to understand the product related metrics, we need to first of all understand the basic differences. Of course we still have some similarities between project execution and the product execution, which I never deny, because the fundamentals will have a overlapping area. But having been said that, there is a difference in way we need to look into things from a project perspective versus a product perspective. I think from that perspective, probably, just to answer your question, probably the customer retention rate, the feature usage in the no the feature usage index, time to value, and how I can improve my go to market strategy in a better manner. These are all some of the flavors which we need to look. So to answer your question, yes, there is a difference between the both.
Absolutely, yeah. So your feature usage or feature execution, I have very best example which is currently trending in the market, the Ghibli image, right? Everyone wants to try the Ghibli images right now on you open UI, everyone, and then most of them are struggling. They either they have to buy paid version. So the point is people are using it. They launched this feature. After that, people are going on OpenAI. They are converting their normal image into Ghibli image. So first of all, retention is there. Second thing, people are using that feature, and third thing, the value that customer is expecting from the product like OpenAI, the value has been delivered. So these are some of the example resonating with the what Balaji tried to say, right? Right, Balaji. So this is what I can say. I'm linking this with the trending topic, Balaji,
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, and actually one more point which need to be kept in mind is from a product metrics. Most of the metrics are outcome driven metrics, and not just
Right.
output driven metrics, right? So the moment we start looking into an outcome driven metrics, I think this is something which cannot be just curtailed within the triple constraints like scope, cost, and time. There is an always an element of dynamics of market rhythm, and there is an element of creativity in way in which we need to approach the product management compared against the project management. Okay, so I
Great.
just wanted to add
Absolutely.
that point. Yeah.
Nicely added. Nice. And then now that we have understood difference between product matrices and project matrices, even they sometimes overlap but look similar. But now let's say there is one team and they are struggling, you know. So have you witnessed something like a team struggling to measure success? Success can be different for each individual, one team or a group of people, you know. So what was your take, like how did you witness it,
Hmm.
and what went wrong, what actually they're trying to do?
Yeah, so the key point which we need to keep in mind here is
Mhm.
before we get onto the platform of measuring the success, we need to
Mhm.
define the success as per the ecosystem of that particular engagement, right? Because we
Right.
all know the English meaning of these words success, but then what, like, see, for a user story, for a feature, we write an acceptance criteria, because to create a common buy-in.
True.
Similarly, at an engagement level or at a program or a product initiative, definition of success need to be crystal clear. Many times I have seen teams jumping on to measuring something even without understanding why am I measuring, for what reason, and how this particular metrics, if I measure, is going to change my behavior of approach to the program. If not, then why do we need to spend time to measure it in the first place? Because metrics have a significant impact of driving the behavior of the team or the customer or the clients.
Mm.
So okay, so see, generally the challenge what I have seen is both from the leadership team, okay, both from the leadership team or also from the senior management team, they are not cascading that particular larger picture or the broader vision to the ground level execution agile teams who are creating the user stories. Because see, we need to understand one thing: value creation still happens with the agile team. It is the
Right.
scrum team, it is the kanban team, it is the DevOps team who is always creating the value. The portfolio level team identifies the value, so the portfolio team is called as a value identifiers. So some of the one of the challenge, wha- uh, one of the challenge what I have seen is whenever it comes to the ground level execution te- team, they are not having that particular insight into talk, to talk about CSAT score, to talk about the NPS value, to talk about the user engagement kind of a metrics, conversion rate kind of a metrics. They are always focused on their core execution, like in terms of your burn up chart, your burn down chart, or if I wanted to call from safe terminology, program predictability measure report. They are more focused on the tactical or the day to day operational activities rather than the strategic kind of a thing. So to answer your question is that yes, this is a gap which actually exists when there is a communication disconnect, or when there is a communication gap between the leadership team and the ground level execution team. I think product management actually tries to plug that gap in a much more profound manner, because we continuously iterate and factor the feedback loops also, right, more than the project here. And typically product management have a concept of a minimum viable product, wherein you
Right.
validate your epic hypothesis, of course, in a much more profound manner. So I think these are all some of the challenges what I see from my perspective. Maybe you can add more thoughts also.
No, that's pretty much you covered it, right?
Mm,
Well said, actually. Yeah. But now going ahead, you already mentioned few metrics,
mm.
for the product. But how do you determine which are the most important one? You know.
Yeah. So see, typically from a product management world, right? We already have some of the key product management metrics or frameworks. Okay. One
Hmm.
of the thing what we try to say is AATRR. Okay. So what does this AATRR mean? Acquisition,
Hmm.
activation, time to value, retention, followed by the revenue.
Oh,
Okay,
that's nice.
so
Hmm.
let me just repeat this particular thing for the sake of the larger audience who are seeing this YouTube video. When it actually goes on the video, it is called as a AATRR. It means acquisition. See, for a product, if I want to sell my product, first I need to acquire a product, acquire my customer also. No,
Right.
every lead generation, every prospect generation, every customer acquisition comes with a cost, right?
Hmm.
So we
Right.
have something called as a acquisition, then we have something called as a activation, then the term called the time to value, which I already covered in the first question, followed
Right.
by the retention and the revenue, right? And here one of the dynamics here is, together with the retention and the revenue, we can also include the referrals also. See, for example, someone is using a particular product, and if they see the value generation in the product, they actually try to refer your project no sorry refer your product to some other end
Product. Yeah.
users, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
uh, uh, Product, so the referrals can also be taken into consideration, followed by the engagement related metrics. Means how do the end users actually interact with your product. See, now the point here which we need to keep in mind is, not all metrics can be directly measured, like density is equal to mass by volume. No, right? So what we need to do here, sometimes we need to create survey questionnaires, and then you put a scale of 1 to 5, and then try to get the pulse of the client on a scale of 1 to 5, by actually giving clearly defined connotations behind the number. Okay, 1 is the least and 5 is the highest. So we can always go for a range based approach in most of the cases. It is not a point based solution to tell x divided by y the whole square equal to z, kind of a matrix. So i
That's
i
pretty
like
much
the yeah so I request the audience to take a look into this particular AATRR, and hopefully they can get better insights from that.
great.
Yeah,
Okay, so we will share
sure.
if there are any documentation links available. We'll share in the description box about more about this. Moving ahead, Balaji. So
Yeah.
now that we discussed one of the important metrics for the product,
Hmm.
can you share your experience? Where a metrics provided unexpected insights.
Maybe you just give a little bit of a
So
context
let's
here.
say,
Yeah.
yeah. So the point is, what I'm trying to say is, you have done lot
Mm,
many agile transformation. You help
mm,
a lot of product teams,
mm,
but then while working with them,
mm,
you provided some metrics. Yeah, these metrics are will be useful, and you use it, and
mm,
then after using it,
mm,
you derived, or your team derived to something unexpected insights, like
mm,
a different view, uh, like I'll give an example. You
mm,
thought that customer retention was
mm.
is average, or it's not
Correct.
going up, but suddenly you realize, oh, this metrics is helping, it's going up. customer retention
mm,
has been increased. So something like
mm.
that.
Yeah, so one of the example which comes to my mind, right? Because examples can be taken from even B2B or a B2C.
B2C.
Let's say for a B2B, let's say that we are actually creating a software as a service kind of a context, right? We are actually creating a SaaS based dashboard, hoping that my AI powered, my artificial intelligence powered, AI powered automatic reporting mechanism, which we are trying to bring in as a new feature, because
Mhm.
because from an operational efficiency point of view, what we thought is the goal was to improve the efficiency for the enterprise users by reducing the manual data exports. But then let's say that we are creating a hypothesis saying that the feature adoption rate will typically improve by 50 percentage. But when we are actually trying to deploy that feature and then trying to track that particular traffic or the volumetric pattern through a mixed panel kind of a mechanism, what we actually feel there is that there is a 15 to 16 percentage or 15 to 80 percentage of the uh, users actually dropped off, or the
Oh,
churn rate had increased, because this particular AI powered has a lot of prerequisites flow, and by the time the users try to complete that prerequisites flow, maybe they are getting annoyed, or they are not actually interested to provide some data as part of the prerequisite flow.
right.
Okay, before they go to the actual flow. So we may need to do a root cause analysis to really find out, okay, what is that, why that okay why that particular drop off rate, okay,
Mm.
suddenly increased. And then we may need to go to the no we may need to go to the user journey mapping or understand the customer mapping, and then tweak the navigation in the portal. So sometimes what we are trying to say is, we think certain things will work out from our limited understanding, but when that particular feature goes to production,
Mm.
probably it may not turn out to be a different case altogether. I think that is where somewhere, no, based on my interaction with some of the product experts also, we
Mm.
have something called as a first principles. Means, like we have our safe principles and Kanban
Mm.
principles and agile principles, we have something called as 20 product model first principles. Okay, in that first
Mhm.
principles we actually talk about something like product team principle, product strategy principle, product discovery principle, product delivery principle, and product culture principles. I think somewhere, for a product manager need to be really successful, one need to go and then start looking into the principles behind the practices. And from, if they have a better grip on the principles, then I think these kind of situations can be minimized. Maybe that's my perspective to it. I will take
Great.
a pause
Good
here.
point. Yeah. Yeah. So Balaji, it often happens. Some of the teams they refer to wrong wrong data, wrong numbers. So some team pursue numbers without any real impact. They just run behind the numbers. How to prevent this kind of scenario?
Okay, so from my experience, what I actually think is running actually behind the numbers happens when we are not focusing on the outcomes and just focusing on the output alone.
Output.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, rather than actually saying that, okay, instead of tracking number of features deployed to the prod, what is more important is what is the feature adoption rate, or
Hmm.
rather number of tracking. Okay, instead of how many tickets resolved per month or per week, what is more important is what is the CSAT improvement because of this particular action, right? So the moment we have a focus on the outcomes over the output, automatically that particular alignment could actually happen, which is actually one part to the answer. The second part is, why don't we start creating something called as a building a OKR driven product roadmap itself?
Hmm.
Okay, see, for
Right.
example, in the past, right, what I used to do is whenever I'm trying to do an agile transformation, we used to create something called as an outcome based plan, or something called as a OKR driven agile transformation roadmap itself. So along the similar line of thought, the moment we start building our OKR driven product roadmap, you are automatically taking care of the KRAs, and these KPIs will automatically get aligned to it. Okay, which is the second way to, the second way to look into it. The third way to look into it is one of the typical product management guys or folks used to use a framework model called as a HEART. HEART. Okay,
Hmm.
HEART. Yeah. ha- Heart means, H means happiness index.
Right.
Happiness index of not me, the end users or the clients or the customers who are
Right.
actually going to use my particular product, right? So we have something called as a heart, happiness index, engagement score, and adoption, retention, and most importantly, the task success also. We also need to be successful at a task level to complete the activity, right? So the moment we start, the moment we start about thinking how my particular end users are going to interact with my product and how I can measure their satisfaction, we have some industry proven techniques and frameworks also, like I
Right.
told now, heart. But the challenge comes that how do you plug it on, take that framework or a model and then plug it on as per your context or a ecosystem. I think
Hmm.
that's where the game plan is. So for happiness, we are creating a survey and then trying to see how satisfied our users are. Then for engagement, probably you can create a short questionnaire or a survey to see how often our users are interacting with that particular feature or the capability in that particular product. Adoption, what is the time taken for the users to quickly adapt to it or become familiarized with that particular feature. Okay, then
Right.
retention, how long the users keep using it, and of course the task success. So what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to metrics, right, first of all we have large of, you see, metrics is a ocean, because the way we classify the metrics itself, we have lot of things. Say for example, we have vanity metrics versus actionable metrics.
Right.
Okay, vanity metrics versus something like a actionable metrics, and we have something like a quantitative versus qualitative metrics, because
Qualitative.
everything cannot be quantified also. And we have something like a exploratory metrics versus a reporting metrics. And as we all know, we always have a leading indicators versus a lagging indicators.
Lagging
And
indicators.
the IT industry also has something called as a north star metrics, one metric which will be serving as a guiding torchlight for me in the journey. So
Right.
for one person to finalize the metrics, first of all, one need to know what is there in the totality. First of all, if I don't
Right.
even know the superset, right, how I can converge my thoughts and come to a subset? So that knowledge is of very importance. That knowledge cannot be discounted for. But having been said, you have vast varieties of metrics. How are you going to zero in and then converge on the right set of metrics? Minimalistic approach. Okay, but at the same time, those metrics should be comprehensive enough for me to make a decision. I think that is the game plan over there.
Absolutely well said. Absolutely. Actually, so I'll summarize what Balaji is trying to say. You know, if something is useful for you and giving correct output and increasing your business, use those metrics. If something is not adding any value, don't use those metrics. Identify where your customer is getting benefited, where your product value is being increased. Use those only. Don't run behind the numbers, guys. Okay, very nicely explained, Balaji. Very nicely. I really liked it. So now moving ahead, um, so how do how do you balance a business objective and team's well-being through use of metrics? Because sometimes what happens, team burnout, or even if team are working um, very effectively, businesses may not be getting benefited. Sometimes it happens. So how do you balance it?
So that is where the challenge is at there, right? See, what is my suggestion is, always you actually begin with a minimal set of metrics, because
Hmm.
the problem here is, more the number of metrics captured, more will be the time wasted as a recurrence activity, week after week, month after month also. So the way to balance this is definitely from a work perspective. We can take some of the principles of a Kanban year. Try to first of all limit the work in progress, so that the flow rate of the team keeps actually improving. So have some, see, for let's say for one of my team, right? Probably I can tell a real time example so that it can actually resonate. While I was actually trying to do a product management kind of a coaching to some of my teams, first of all, what I always tell them is, guys, first you begin with the goal. What is the goal? What is the goal? Who are all the user personas for this particular product? What are all the pain points? What are all the solution? What is the pain point? What is the solution? I think if we are very clear on these 4 to 5 areas, we can definitely then later look into the metrics, which will quite as obviously align with the business objectives. So
Right.
some of the highly recommended metrics which we always keep in mind when it comes to product management adoption and conversion is, one is the conversion rate. Okay, how many new customers I have obtained. Second is the cost of acquisition of the customer or the client, because acquiring every customer comes with a cost attached to it. It could be a direct cost or a indirect cost.
Indirect cost.
The third thing is the what is the retention or the churn rate. Okay, it could be retention on the positive side, churn rate on the negative side, if you are going to lose the customer. And one more important metrics what we need to look into it is, not all customers have equal lifetime value. Some customers will give us a higher CLV, customer lifetime value. So you need to understand and categorize your different user personas and customers, and accordingly choose the right kind of metrics to them. Now, some of the commonly used metrics is, for example, no, daily active users, or weekly active users, or monthly active users, and what are all the metrics from a referral likelihood. So begin with some basic set of metrics. You need to pilot it. You may need to run some pilot initiatives, validate your hypothesis or assumptions over there. And you may also need to leverage some of the powerful tools in the market, which will actually help you to align your business objectives with the metrics. By the by, irrespective of the tool or the process or the technology, the magic happens with the people only, right?
Right.
be,
Right.
be it be it uh, be it 2014 or 2025 or even in 2034, magic should happen with the people. But only with people we cannot do everything, right? So we need a process, we need a technology, we need all those things, but fundamental thing is the people over there. So, from a product management perspective itself, we have specific product management related t- t- tools. Some of the tools which actually comes to my mind is, we have some tools like a product plan. Okay, we have a
Okay.
tool like a
Mhm.
product plan. We have a tool like the tool called a uh, t- tool called a ClickUp, and we also have a tool called a Road Monk. Okay, ROADMUNK, and we also have the famous tool called AHA, AHA.
Aha.
Okay, so
AHA. Yeah.
these tools allows us to do a visual thinking in terms of my product road mapping, my product strategization, how I can position it over there. And together with this help of these tools and process, we can then do the magic with the people to align it back to the business objective. And definitely creating an OKR driven product roadmap synthesizes all these disjointed sets. So I just wanted to give that summary view.
Very very detailed uh, you know explanation that you have given. So team, the viewers, please note all these tools and try to explore these tools and see which are the useful tools for you, and try it out. Now coming on to our last question for today. If someone is new to agile metrics, where exactly they should begin?
Okay, so before I answer this last question,
Hmm.
one more point to add to the previous question is whenever it comes to aligning something to the business objective, we do have a powerful concept called a business model canvas.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, we
Hmm.
do have a powerful concept at a portfolio level too. We have something called as a business model canvas, which is going to tell me what is the value proposition, who are all my end users, what is the business channels, who are all the channels, partners, what are all the key activities. So once you take a look into whether your business model canvas or you look into your portfolio level canvas, one will get the bigger picture. One will get the big picture, then you can try to understand, okay, what am I doing now, and how this particular activity is getting aligned back to the overall larger picture. I think if one understands that, then anything and everything you do will automatically get aligned to the business rather than trying to do it as a separate activity. Okay, so I just want to
Nice.
bring that point. Okay, now
Great point. Yeah.
yeah, now to answer to your question, right, one way to begin is, see, I always recommend people to spend some good amount of time to actually get the uh, knowledge first, be it any
Oh.
subject for that matter. One of the important one of the common pitfalls what I have seen is many people get into logical thinking without having subject knowledge. Logical thinking without subject knowledge may even sometimes try to mislead us. We need to know the in and out of the subject, right? Be it any subject, not necessarily product management. Even if you wanted to become a data scientist, you need to know what is uh, data science, what are all the different roles in the data science, what are all the different learning, like supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, which particular algorithm can be applied where, what is fundamentally data science life cycle, right? Then you can use your so-called thinking to further. So one of the things is, if someone is new to metrics, first of all, I wanted them to understand the agile values, principles, all those basic stuffs, then understand the frameworks like scrum, kanban, basics of DevOps, and basics of some safe framework. And then once you understood the process, once you understood the overall landscape, then if you get into, okay, what is this metric, why am I measuring it, what will happen in the absence of this metric versus presence of this metric, and based on this particular metrics, what actionable insights which I can derive out of it, and how this particular insight is getting connected to the overall program level vision and objective. I think we need to go one by one only. We cannot conquer
Absolutely.
it in one go.
Right. It should be incremental and, approach. You cannot do everything at one.
Yeah, probably I can give a closure thoughts if you are okay with this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So I have been in this particular agile journey for the past 15 years, and then I have seen multiple teams. And what I have found, one common thing is success actually demands a kind of following a particular process. Success will not come when we do things in a ad hoc manner or in a haphazard manner. Of course, the context matters, but still success will come as a predictable, repeatable pattern if you follow a well structured process, or a kind of thing. So even in the world of the product management, what I encourage to business analysts or product owners or to aspiring product managers is, you go and talk to existing product managers, so that you will get that real time capabilities which you can't get it from your chat gpt or your Google. And also start thinking by, okay, can I create a playbook? Okay, if I have a playbook in place, right, for anything for that matter, it could be a DevOps adoption, it could be a AI CoE, or it could be an agile transformation. I always get into the mindset of creating a kind of a playbook, so that processes will become predictable, repeatable, scalable, and most importantly sustainable, right? So
Yeah.
some people used to tell me, oh, okay, so do we need to go line by line by the playbook? No, but the playbook will give you a overall direction to the journey. The value to the variable will come from the context, but if you don't know the variables itself, and in the interview also, you cannot tell it all depends, because interviewer also knows it all depends. The question is, it all depends on what parameters?
What?
ABC, or XYZ, at least we need to tell the parameters. Okay. And by the way, I also do a kind of mentoring and coaching as part of my own Agile mentorship program. If someone wanted to connect with me, you feel free to connect with me one on one.
Go. So absolutely well said, Balaji. It's a always a pleasure listening to you what you said. So to my viewers, if you really like or enjoyed this discussion, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, add a comment. If you have any questions for Balaji, put it in the comments. We would like to see more comments from you guys. And Balaji, once again, thanks a lot for joining us on Agile Exploration Hub. It was pleasure hosting you once again, and thanks for all the insights. It was very nice discussion.
Yeah. And thanks a lot
Thanks.
for giving me this particular opportunity. Cheers. And namaste.
Cheers.
All. Bye.
Namaste.
Bye.